Hello, my name is Colin Cooper. Today's news story will be on the topic of COVID-19. COVID, the virus that shut down the world. It's funny to think that this all started with an outbreak in China, and now what you see today. The mask requiring 6 feet apart demanding pandemic. But it hasn't just affected our general lifestyle, but how we learn and work. Today, we will be asking how has COVID affected our schools. So let's see how it has affected our teachers.
COVID has made my job harder because it's harder to communicate with students by wearing a mask. Sometimes they don't hear me as clearly or they can't follow along with what I'm saying. And then last year when we were in hybrid, it was really hard going back and forth, having school every other day instead of every single day. And the online part was obviously really hard when we did online.
This has definitely made my job harder. And the reason that it's become harder for me really is about relationships with our students. I just don't think that I'm able to, or teachers are able to get to know our students as well as we have in the past because we don't see faces. So that's the main problem I've had so far with COVID is the fact we have to wear our masks. I don't get to have the conversations or the relationships built that I've been able to build in the past. I think it hurts you guys too because you don't have that chance to interact and have those conversations as much. Also think that it's just tough on all of you and our teachers to have to wear masks all day long while we're teaching and talking. I fully understand why we need to, but I still think that's a pretty big challenge for everybody.
We had to do some more planning, things like that. We had to space everybody out, take a questionnaire for all the kids last year and ask them about their symptoms. So it definitely ate up some of the practice time that we needed to work on things, but we had to make sure we did that to make sure everybody was healthy and safe.
Well, honestly, everybody's been very responsible about wearing masks, which we appreciate here at Winning Way. The one thing I would say in my personal life, my wife and both of my kids had COVID, so not only did I have to wear a mask at school all day, I got to go home and wear a mask so that I could stay safe and be here at school and keep our students safe. So, but honestly, our kids have been great. Our absences have been pretty low, and I think that's because kids are wearing masks and doing what we need to do and washing their hands and staying safe. But our absences have been pretty low, even during the tough parts of COVID. So honestly, it's been pretty uneventful, I guess, to say the least.
COVID has made my job harder for a couple of reasons. One is that absences are much higher and it's really hard to get caught up in Spanish for kids, and so I find myself having to catch people up a lot more, which I'm happy to do, but it's harder for them and it's harder for me because then they're behind, they don't know what's going on, it's confusing. Also, see how you can't see my mouth right now? In Spanish, pronunciation is a huge piece of it. When you can see someone's mouth, you can understand what they're saying a lot better than you can when they're in masks, and so that's made it really hard to get people to pronounce things right, and so that's been challenging too. Those are the biggest ones.
So I think it has a little bit. First of all, these masks, while they're there to protect us, I understand they suck. I can't see your faces, which is hard, and you can't see facial expressions from teachers. It also makes it difficult for some of our students that have a hard time hearing to be able to read our lips. COVID's also made it hard because of, like when we did hybrid learning or online learning, we had to kind of redo all of our lessons. And I think it made it harder for students to really focus on what was being taught, so I think we have some gaps there.
It honestly is kind of disbanded it. I don't really know if there still is a student council. We all still have our titles, but in my opinion, honestly, since we're not all in Mr. Tisdale's and we kind of got shut down from, not at the beginning, but pretty early on. So I don't know if there really is a student council anymore. It's certainly hard to run it when there's really no decision making to be had because I just don't really think it's a thing.
I would be upset because it's hard to teach online. It's hard to teach math online. I teach math. It's very hard to teach math online. So I just feel like it would make my job a lot harder. But if we had to for safety, I would understand that.
Not be in favor of going back online. I think it's really difficult for everybody involved. I think that it's best to be in person with our teachers, getting the help that we need in person. It's just better for everybody involved. So I really would hope that we never have to go back to online schooling. I understand if there was a staffing concern, We might have to do that if there were shortages with our drivers, for example, but I would not be in favor of going back online.
Personally, I would not like it. When we were originally, back in 2019 when we were in it, it was a real struggle. For me as a teacher, being in front of students and having those interactions, I think brings a lot to the students' learning. So that was difficult. When we went to hybrid, where we were half and half, that was a good compromise if we would ever get to that point. But I think anytime teaching happens, when we're in front of our students and our students are in front of us, it makes for a better learning experience.
So if it were in the best interests, like the best interest of the health of my students and keeping people well, I would support it. I hate it. I hate teaching online. It's not my jam. I'm not good at it. It's not my preferred way to go. I like to be in the classroom with the people. However, if it saves lives, I'm down.
I would be really sad. I like being here with all of you every day, and I think sometimes it's hard to connect with people through a screen in a way that we can do a lot better here at school.
As you could see, COVID has affected our school in many ways. It was very interesting to see all the different perspectives from different staff members and what they think about COVID in general. We will come back with a continuation of this COVID-19 special with even more questions. We'll see you then, Worthingway.